Elephant in the room, I have been in a reading slump. Is a win in my book. I love him. So I love this cover. Yeah. Hello everyone. The amount of books I have read in the last 2 months has been abysmal, to say the least, and I had very high hopes for getting to a lot of books on my physical TBR before the year ended, and it's looking a little bleak. It's looking a little bleak at this point. So for the next however long, I'm hunkering down and I'm reading books from my physical TBR, and I'm getting myself out of this slump and I'm getting back into the swing of reading because, first of all, I miss it. Second of all, the year is coming to a close. We are running out of time, not only for my 24 and 2024 list, but also just my TBR cart that is sitting right here and is staring at me and has so many books on it that it's getting a little overwhelming. So that being said, we're just mood reading from the physical TBR, getting through as many books as possible, making some progress, feeling good. So that's the plan. First book I'm obviously holding and already acting like I'm talking about it. I have been reading One Dark Window I've been reading it for a week, which, you know, realistically, not an ideal pace to be reading books at, and I'm only this much of the way through. I'm on page 180, chapter 17, which is less than halfway, and the plot has really only just begun to kick off, which I think is usually part of what prevents me from reading super fast, is if I'm reading something that, like most fantasy books, has a lot of setup, but I love the vibes of this. I'm loving what's going on. It's just for some reason I'm having trouble locking in and reading at all, ever. So I love that. I'm literally not even like watching TV or anything anymore. I think it's just I've become re-addicted to my phone now. The problem has shifted from binge watching TV to binge watching TikTok. So we are shifting back to reading before bed. Okay, we're shifting back to reading before bed. We're reprioritizing. That's what's gonna happen. So with that being said, I have been going back and forth listening to the audiobook and reading this physically. I think I've only read like one chapter physically. So that's the only reason I've made this much progress. With that being said, if you're not familiar, One Dark Window is a new adult gothic fantasy book that was really popular last year or 2 years ago. No, I think last year was when it was like really, really popular. And I actually bought this fairly recently, which is not ideal for the physical TBR of it all, but hearing people talk about it, I knew it would be something that I really like, and I honestly really do. It's your classic romantic-y vibe, like the overall vibe, like the gothic vibes of it all are really, really doing it for me. Like I'm really, really enjoying myself. Basically, we're following our main character Elspeth, who lives in a place called Blunder that is being overtaken by some kind of like mist. It's basically slowly infecting people that live there, and if you get infected with the illness or whatever when you're younger, you ultimately develop magic powers that will eventually kill you, but as is the standard in the genre, Elspeth seems to be the exception to this rule because she was infected, she has magic, but her magic hasn't seemed to have taken a toll on her yet, and what has happened instead is she has a monster living inside her head. And basically where the plot really kicks off, she sort of falls into some sort of scheme where she's working alongside a group of people that are trying to gather these cards that supposedly in the lore of their culture have the power to get rid of the mist and cure land of infection. So basically I've only just started the part where they're really starting to hunt the cards in earnest, and I can feel things really starting to pick up, and I'm really, really loving it. I will say, love interest's name, Raven with a Y. It is definitely your standard, like I said, romantic-y vibes. I'm not 100% sold on the romance yet, and I don't know if that's just because I've been listening to the audiobook, but I'm feeling a little uncertain up to this point about how I'm feeling. I don't know. I don't know that I believe the allure of the love interest, which is so interesting because I don't know if I've ever really had that problem before. But I also, again, I don't know if it's just because of the headspace that I'm in, and I also was thinking about it the other day. I don't think I've actually read that much romantasy. I've read a decent amount of YA fantasy, but like romantasy as a genre, I think I've really only read, like I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. I don't think I've read a lot of romantasy. It's so interesting because I feel like because the genre is typically pretty tropey, it feels like I've read a lot of it before. Maybe just because I've heard people talk about it so much. I really don't know. Obviously, I've read a lot of YA fantasy with romance subplots, but I don't know that I can outright say I've read a lot of romantasy, which is just so funny. So I'm educating myself by reading this also. That being said, I'm having a good time when I'm reading this. I'm really enjoying myself. I just don't know that I'm enjoying myself because of the romance. Like that's not the case. It's more like I just really like the vibes, and the premise is super interesting. Like the hunt for missing objects to cure an illness. Yeah, I don't know. I just talked for a long time and I feel like I said a whole lot of nothing. So anyways, I am gonna read some more of this tonight. I'm gonna try and make some decent progress. I'm not gonna stay up too late, but it's only 8:30. And like I said, I'm on page 180 and there are, not to see spoilers, 392. So I have about 200 pages left, which in theory I could finish tonight, but realistically that's not gonna happen because I can literally hear my roommates in the living room and I think they're about to turn on Dancing with the Stars. So can't sit that out. Unfortunately, I do have to go partake in an episode of that. Hopefully when I do hunker down and start reading, I will make a decent amount of progress. We'll see. Okay, anyways, I'll let you know when I have updates to give you. I was gonna tell you what I think my TBR will be for this, but I think I'm gonna hold off because being in a slump, when I finish this, I'm gonna pick up exactly what I'm in the mood for. I'm not gonna like try and stick to any kind of TBR. So we'll have to discuss the next book when I finish her. Okay, anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Yeah. Suddenly feeling so locked in. I might try and stay up and finish. We'll see. I just read the last sentence of chapter 32 and immediately had to come sit in my car to finish reading this because I'm scared. Like literally my stomach dropped. I still feel a little sick. I have less than 30 pages left. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Also, I just want to say, I feel like I haven't given very many updates because I've been reading very sporadically, but despite the fact that his name is Raven with a Y, I love Raven U, okay? I love him. I love him. So. Like okay. The way really I should have known that this was gonna be the ending. Anyways. 6 pages left. I'm almost done. All done. Wait, I really liked that. I can't believe it took me so long to read. I feel like this always happens to me with fantasy books where it takes me so long to get into it. And then when I get to the end, I have such a fun time that I don't know where I stand. So I'm gonna have to collect my thoughts. I actually have to go home to get some things before I leave for work. I'll come back with thoughts in just a little bit. But that was really good. The ending was so good. One Dark Window. I think I'm gonna go 4.25 stars. It's always so hard when I read something and I'm not fully locked in, so I don't know. But I think I can settle confidently on 4.25 stars because I think enjoyment level was higher for me than the last few fantasy books that I've read. Also, I'm pretty sure, I think I said in the beginning when I was giving my first thoughts on this, I didn't know if I like believed the romance. I bought into it. I did buy into it. I ended up loving Raven, the love interest, by the end. I feel like there were parts of this that felt just, oh, I just realized my sunglasses are still on my head. There were definitely parts of this that felt like a smidge underdeveloped, I feel like, which, I mean, it's 390 pages, and the font is quite large. I don't know if you can tell, but the font is quite large, on the larger side, I guess, and it definitely reads very fast paced. So I just feel like there were certain areas that definitely could have been, you know, developed a little bit more. But the vibes overall were so good. It was very dark, very gothic. This whole thing takes place in a place that's surrounded by mist, and it really read like that. Like that was the overall energy of this, and I really liked it. I have to say the rhyming sometimes didn't really hit for me. Like there's little cards at the top of each chapter that have like a little excerpt either from like the Book of Alders, which is like the book that teaches them their lore, or little rhymes about the Providence cards that they're collecting. And sometimes the rhyming and the poetry of those did not quite work for me. Like I was kind of like, okay, what was the point of that? But I will say there's one little rhyme that comes full circle by the end of the book, and that one was hitting. That one was hitting. Yeah. The setup for book 2, I'm sad. I'm so sad. I am so curious because it feels like we're going to be going down a bit of a different path. It now makes sense to me when people say that the second book is quite different. I'm so curious, but I'm also excited because I can imagine like one part of the ultimate finale. I can already see it in my head, and I'm very excited for that one. So I don't know, I really ended up loving it. 2.5 stars. I'm really glad that I cranked it out. Like I read the last 300 pages in the last 24 hours, and I really feel like that's the way to do it. Like I say this every time. I have this realization every time I binge a book. I'm like, oh wait, I love reading when I do it like that. Like when I actually immerse myself in the story, it feels really good. So yeah, overall, a little bit formulaic, a little bit underdeveloped, but ultimately I ended up feeling like an idiot at certain parts. I obviously felt sick to my stomach when the ending approached, and I liked the ensemble of characters that we had as well, and I think it sets up nicely for the second book, so I'm excited. The second one is what? Two Twisted Crowns. So I'll be sad for that. Very excited. Book number 1 is done. I think at this point, I think I'm kind of in the mood for a romance. I have a couple of options on my cart. Let me grab the one that I pulled earlier. I want something like super easy, light, fun. So these are the 3 contemporary romances I have that like fall into that category, I think. Because I also have How to End a Love Story and romantic comedy, but those both feel a little bit more like literary fiction, whereas these feel like pure contemporary romance. So I have Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, which literally this was one of my most anticipated reads of 2024 and I haven't picked it up yet, so leaning towards her. This is a romance with a magical realism twist where a main girl gets stuck in the town of her favorite romance novel. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto is like an orchestra romance. Yeah. And then I have One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is supposed to be sad. It's also very short. It's about a girl whose fiance disappears. She moves on and then OG fiance reappears. And she has to decide who she loves and who she's gonna be with. So I don't know about this one. I'm really thinking I might go a novel love story, also just because it seems like it'll be a quick read. I love Ashley Poston, and like The 7 Year Slip is one of my all-time favorite books. Also really enjoyed The Dead Romantics. I have heard mixed things about this, but I also know that reading is subjective and there's a good chance that I will love this just as much as I love the other 2. So I think we're gonna do her. I do really want to do Not Another Love Song sooner rather than later, but I've had this one for longer. I pre-ordered this and I haven't picked it up yet, which is a crime. So we're gonna go with this. All I know, like I said, it's about a girl that gets trapped in the town that her favorite romance books are set in. She's perfectly frozen, trapped in the late author's last unfinished story. She's sure that's why she must be there, help bring the town to its storybook ending. Cute little small town vibes. I feel like it'll feel kind of fall, which is cute. And I'm just really in the mood for a romance. So I think I'll be eating this up. I will let you know once I have first impressions how I'm feeling. So, okay. I just learned her name for the first time. I didn't vlog this at all, but I just made banana bread. I have banana bread baking in the oven. Fingers crossed it's good because usually my baking skills are lacking. We'll find out. The chapter being titled Meet Cute. It's happening. There is something about Ashley Poston's writing that just scratches an itch in my brain. I'm feeling really good about this. I'm feeling good. I also have to say, I meant to say this when I hit record, the little prologue, it's like a little introduction to the town. The way it's described, like the space, the town, how charming it is, how much she loves it, the way it feels like somewhere that she knows so intimately because she's read so many books set there. It says, there once was a town and I was so certain that it would feel like home if I ever made it there. Like, yeah, I wasn't loving the audiobook narrator if I'm being honest, but I still got full body chills from the prologue. Oh, and of course, she's stranded in this town and the hotel's under renovation, so she has nowhere to stay. So the guy that she almost ran over with her car is the only one with a spare room. So of course she's gonna stay there. And he's gorgeous with minty green eyes and a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of roughness to him. And of course, she kind of low-key hates him because of their first interactions, but now she has to stay in his loft. Darn. I'm bearing bad news. I'm not loving her. I'm on page 138, chapter 15. This far in, I think probably like 30%-ish. I feel like I still don't know the characters. The love interest feels so mysterious to me now. He has like no substance going on. He's like the only other person in this town that she's trapped in that seems to know that they exist in a book and that they're the only ones that know. Like none of the characters obviously know that they live in a book and that they're trapped there. So like the main conflict between Elsie, Eileen, our main character, and Andy, the love interest, is that he doesn't want her to ruin everything by telling everyone that they live in a storybook. But they like hate each other for what seems like no reason. I can't tell if he's been mean to her, if she's just jumped to conclusions about him making judgments about her. I don't know. The nature of their relationship and the bickering and stuff just doesn't make sense to me, if I'm being honest. And then, I don't know, none of the characters feel fleshed out or real, I guess because we know that they're storybook characters and so we know that they're not real. Maybe it's because Elsie also knows they're not real. I don't know. Just a lot of what's going on, I feel like feels very contrived or very like manufactured maybe, where like none of it feels like it's happened naturally. There's so many things about it that I really like. Like I love when it's talking about how much she loves her favorite series and how much she loves being in this town and getting to live out these things that she's like lived through the pages and all that kind of stuff. And like, I'm feeling very meh about it at the moment. I'm gonna try and stay up and binge this, I think. I have like 200 pages, so I'll probably be up past 1 a.m. because it is 11. So it's not ideal, but I don't know. I'm kind of feeling at the moment like I kind of just want to be done with it, which is so not fun. I was really hoping for the contemporary romance in this vlog to like pull me out of that feeling, but I'm just not obsessed with the way we're going right now. I hope that we get more out of the love interest soon. I want to learn more about the author. I hope we learn more about the author. I'm sure we will, but anyways, I'm going to read more of this and then I'll let you know. Also, I got a new sunset lamp. The vibes are set for staying up and reading. I'm just really hoping that I end up loving this. I'm hoping it surprises me. We'll see. Have some updates, some very interesting updates. Basically, to make a long story short, I stayed up finishing this last night. I stayed up until about 1:40. I was up really late finishing it, and what's crazy is right after I gave my little update where I was like, I really don't know, I'm not feeling great about it. Actually, not as soon as that is being very generous. Sometime well into the second half, I started really enjoying this. I remember overwhelmingly the critiques of the romance in this from all the reviews I saw when people were reading it when it was first coming out. A lot of people were saying that it felt like it was very rushed towards the end, which I do agree that I feel like we maybe linger in the unfounded hatred that I was talking about for way longer than we should. Like, it doesn't make sense that they hate each other. It just like, it never feels earned. It never feels right. But that being said, the very like I want to say it was probably like the last third, I think, is really when the romance really kicks in. The thing is, there's like a semblance of a plot that she wants you to think that we're participating in, but we really aren't. And the supposed mission that Miss Elsie has isn't real. Like, she isn't really ever actually doing that. The only thing is we're kind of watching the results of her like interfering in the lives of these characters and in this book. But even that feels very subplot and doesn't feel very consequential. So it's very interesting. This was a very interesting read. I'm stuck somewhere between 3.25 and 3.5, which feels crazy because 7 Year Slip and Dead Romantic, also by Ashley Poston, can't decide how to say it. I think it's Poston. 7 Year Slip is a 5-star read. Dead Romantics I think I gave 4 stars, and this one just fell a little flat. She is so good at wrapping things up in great successful ways. Like, the themes of this were so powerful. I was crying, okay? I was crying. But unfortunately, like, the rest of it just didn't hit for me. I think the premise was really fun, but it wasn't executed the way that I wanted it to be, and so I was a little bit disappointed. Also, I feel like lately, specifically, I've been reading sometimes more with the mindset of a writer. There were a lot of things in this that I was a little confused about on the editing side of things, which is not a fault of hers. It's just like kind of a question mark. Overall, I enjoyed the end. I enjoyed the back half of this book. It did end up pulling out a strong ending. Loved the themes. There were just a lot of things that didn't work, unfortunately. So I said 3.5 in my Goodreads review, but I'll have to see where I land in my wrap up. But that's that on that. And then since I stayed up and binged that, I wanted to pick up something, first of all, that could be really fast paced. Second of all, that I could finish today because I would really like to get this video out tomorrow. But third of all, I don't know if I said A, B, or 1, 2, can't remember. But thirdly, I had this book on my TBR cart because a sweet bookseller at Barnes & Noble, when I was checking out, when this was the Barnes & Noble monthly pick a couple months ago, she said, "Do you like books about weird people doing weird things?" And I said, yeah. She pulled it out and she put it on the counter in front of me and she said, "You need to buy this then." I said, "Oh, well," and she said, "No, you have to. You'll really like it." I said, "Okay." And then I bought it. So this has been sitting on my cart and I've been a little bit like, why do I own this? So I wanted to give it a try, see if I liked it enough to finish the whole thing, and then see if I liked it enough to keep it. I will say I love this cover. Incredible cover. Also, it is only 133 pages and I am currently on page 65 because I was gonna try and see if I could binge it all in one sitting because that's what a lot of the reviews on the back say about it, but I ended up getting pulled into a lot of work today, so I was just listening to the audiobook whenever I had time, which I actually really like the audiobook narrator for this one. So yeah, that being said, I think I'm gonna try and finish this right now. I think I'm gonna sit right here in this spot on this bed and read the last 60 or so pages of this because I can. It's such a quick read. It reads really, really fast. I thought, based on the way the bookseller sold it to me, that this was gonna be like a literary thriller situation. But then I looked on Goodreads and it's classified as literary fiction and historical fiction. So this is a straight up family drama, I fear, or I guess like relational drama, because it's mainly just about this married couple, Kathleen and Virgil, who live in the year 1957. And basically one day Kathleen gets into the pool of their apartment complex and refuses to get out of it. And then we're kind of like slowly figuring out why. Like all of the chapters that are in Virgil's like point of view are post her in the pool, and all the chapters in Kathleen's point of view are pre her getting in the pool, I think. Actually, I don't know. That might just be up to where I'm at this point. I don't know. I like the writing style. It's very quick, like I said, very fast paced, but I'm just sometimes with literary fiction, when there's not a strong plot, I find myself just kind of being like, wait, what are we working towards here? And obviously the point of it is it's about a married couple. We're exploring their dynamics. We're exploring the things that they do to each other, etc., etc. Like the last sentence of this summary says, the most breaches the shimmering surfaces of a seemingly idyllic marriage, immersing us in the unspoken truth beneath. Like I said, Barnes & Noble monthly pick a couple months ago. Very different for me, like outside of my comfort zone, but it's been sitting on my TBR cart. I was in the mood for it this morning when I was picking my next read, and it's really short. So anyways, we're gonna read it and then I'm gonna come back to you with final thoughts and we're gonna wrap this vlog up, so okay. Then feeling a little bit, what did I just read and why did I just read it? But third book checked off the physical TBR for this video, so that's okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to go no rating for this, I fear. I don't know what I expected. I wanted it to be a thriller. I wanted it to be fun and weird and bizarre. And instead it was very normal. I don't know. I like prose like this. Like I actually like historical fiction, general fiction vibes, I'm realizing, because I liked both of Celeste Ng's books, and honestly this kind of felt like a Celeste Ng book in prose at least, but books that are shorter just like are harder to rate in general. And also just a premise like this, I'm like, okay, you know, like I finished it and I was like, okay, cool. So no rating. I think potentially, I guess it would be 3 stars. Like it was fine. Maybe it would be a little bit lower just because, I don't know. The thing is it was a quick read, but there wasn't anything like groundbreaking, crazy, exciting, exhilarating about it. You know, it was just a time. So yeah. And then just to recap, obviously the other 2 books, we have a, what did I say, 4.25? 4.25 stars, and I think I'm gonna settle on 3.5 for now. So not too bad. We mood read our way through 3 books off the physical TBR, which is a win in my book, even though the most is incredibly short compared to the other 2. Still clearing up some room on the cart. So anyways, I love mood reading. I love challenging myself to read from my physical TBR, and I'm really, really glad that I did this. So thanks for keeping me company while I did. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm probably gonna go ahead and pick out my next read right now because guess what? I'm feeling in the mood to read again. I'm feeling so much more locked in. I'm feeling re-engaged into the reading of it all. Sometimes it really just is a matter of getting yourself over the hump. And I will say I did use audiobooks as a way to bridge the gap when I wasn't feeling the most motivated. And in a way it kind of helps because especially when you start a audiobook that you're not loving, it encourages you to pick up the physical book and engage with it in that way instead, you know? So anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for accompanying me on this journey. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.